There's never gonna be a non-binary producer in the room. Not for a very long time. Maybe it'll be me, who knows? But like,
Speak it to the universe, girl.
that's not gonna happen right now. There's now a responsibility to pass the torch. There's a responsibility to bring up other voices, and I think that's what should be applauded.
Hi, my name is John Paul Brammer. You can call me JP. I am the managing editor at the Trevor Project, and I run the advice column Hola Papi. And we're here today with MTV News to talk about what are some of the issues that aren't being represented in the LGBTQ community. So if we could just go around and have everyone introduce themselves and what they do.
I am Sydnee Washington. I am a comedian. I am an actress. I am Hot Cheetos if it was a person. What are your pronouns? Oh, and my pronouns is she, her.
I'm Ian Alexander. I am an actor and advocate, and artist, I don't know. And my pronouns are he, him, his.
Hi, I'm Stephon Mendoza. I go by Steph. I am a designer, influencer, advocate. I like to say that I'm everything. And I'm not pronoun specific, but I usually say I prefer anything except it.
I'm Lachlan Watson. I'm also an actor, and my pronouns are they, them.
We've made a lot of progress with representation when it comes to LGBTQ people, but that representation has tended to be limited to cisgender white gay men. Do we feel like even within the community, that sort of racism, sexual racism, whatever you want to call it, also exists? Is it a real life issue in our community, and what is it? What is it like?
Absolutely. I have been a full-time lesbian for 5 years now. I was only doing it on the weekends, and now you would think it was like easy to transition, but just like a lot of people just don't respect my sexuality because I used to hook up with guys, but I'm just like, this is what I am now, this is what I identify now. You like respect my past, whatevs, like this is what I'm doing. I'm in a full-on relationship with a woman. I am attracted to women, like respect it. And they're like, you don't look like a lesbian. It's just like, well, I'm femme. A lesbian can look like anything, you know. Your mother might be a lesbian. You don't know.
You never know, girl.
You know, she just might not come out yet. So it's like, why do I have to, you know, be in Home Depot or have a short haircut? Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I feel like for trans people in particular, I mean, like, socially there has been a lot of progress, but politically, I mean, like with Trump's military ban on trans people and everything like that, it is really frustrating because I feel like society has progressed to a point where most people are educated about trans people, and then you take a look at our government and there's still, you know, like women's health laws, which also apply to trans men. Like this whole like abortion thing that's been going on in Alabama, like trans men can get pregnant too. And so it affects, you know, marginalized communities within the LGBT community as well. And even like within the LGBT community, there is still a lot of like ignorance and just like miseducation. There is like a lot of racism and misogyny and trans misogyny that needs to be worked on for sure.
Does it ever feel different when it's coming from an LGBT person as opposed to when it's coming from like a cis, straight, white person? Does it feel different when like they don't get it?
I mean, it does feel a little different, but it's still like, you know, like being gay doesn't give you a pass to be transphobic. It doesn't give you a pass to be racist. Like, like even like a trans person of color could still be, you know, like misogynistic or, you know. So I feel like it is frustrating when people sort of use that as an excuse. Like they're like, oh, I'm gay, so like I get a pass, like I say whatever. It's like, no, you still have to be educated. It's 2019, you have the internet, you have Google, you can look things up.
It's the modern equivalent of like, I have a gay friend.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is, or I have a black friend.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
No,
bi.
just like, I
It's
am gay.
Right, yeah. I have recently started like becoming aware of certain discriminations even within like the androgynous community, the non-binary community, where I feel like on social media in particular, there's so little AFAB, assigned female representation, where I have gotten to the point where I'm having these moments of being like, God, if only I looked like Timothy Chalamet, how far ahead would I be? Where it's like, if I was like assigned male with like the perfect like cut cheekbones, like how much more respect would I be getting? Like, how many more followers on Instagram would I have right now?
What do you think, Steph?
For me, I do experience it in the queer community, and I do surround myself with a lot of queer people, and sometimes it is just really unfortunate that I still have to explain or educate my peers that are queer as well, because sometimes I'm just like, we're both queer. Like, how could you not get this?
From
like
inside the
yeah,
house.
the calls are coming from within the house, you know, actually. And it is a little hurtful sometimes. I think that I have definitely experienced femophobia and misogyny in many different ways. And I think in my love life, I've experienced it. Sometimes in my last relationship, I know that there was sort of an issue of he really loved me as the person I was internally, everything that I was, but he wanted my external to be more so the Steph person that we call it, because we call like Steph and Mendoza two separate entities. So like this is very Mendoza, and then there's Steph that like still likes to wear Jordans or sneakers and sweatpants and, you know, snapbacks and things like that, and that is what he liked more. Obviously you can't be with me because I'm not going to be changing. I'm not going to conform to just one part of me for all of you.
Yeah. You make an interesting point because you were sort of making it sound like there's two people living in your body. I was wondering, how often do y'all find yourselves having to code switch or having to occupy different worlds?
So like being biracial, like being raised in a half Vietnamese, half like white American family, it was weird because I wasn't white enough for the white kids and I wasn't like Asian enough for the Asian kids, and I never really fit in anywhere, and that sort of alienated me. And then like adding my sexuality and my gender into that, it's like very complicated territory where I'm like, okay, so I'm Asian and white, and I like boys, and I like girls, and I like people that aren't boys or girls, and I feel masculine, but I also feel feminine, but I feel, you know, so it's like there's just a lot going on, and I definitely do identify with like that sort of like dual sides of myself where different situations call for different sort of personalities.
With kind of ridding ourselves of those limitations, I love that I can do that. I can dress this way one day just because that's how I'm feeling. I can dress another way just off of how I'm feeling. It doesn't change the person I am or what I am or anything like that. But what is really unfortunate is the fact that toxic masculinity and fragile masculinity has, you know, sunk its way into the queer community. And obviously, you know, that's such a big issue. And, you know, for men to insert themselves just because they feel some type of way because, you know, a woman is in the room, a trans person is in the room, or a queer person is in the room. Because any of those three kinds of people, when they step into a room, the energy is so humongous that men have to insert their masculinity in those ways when they're not necessarily comfortable. So obviously it's going to feel uncomfortable for each standard of that.
How do you feel about sometimes having to be an educator? Because I imagine it can be exhausting, right? Like, it's great to explain things, but there are times when like there's so many people to explain things to that it can really sap your energy. How do you feel about someone just sort of assuming that you are an educator and that you can speak on things?
Well, I tell them no. I do comedy full time, so I'm educated, but also I'm gonna make things very light because that's just like what I'm good at. But it's difficult for me because first I'm black, then I'm a woman, then I'm queer. There's like layers. Because it's like I'm always identifying with all three, but when you first see me, what are you gonna see? You're gonna see my color. Then you're gonna be like, that's a woman. And then you maybe figure out what my sexuality is. And so I have to combat everything. I have to educate everybody about, being black in America, and then just sexism. And then, okay, I don't want you just because I like women. So it's just like, it's a whole bunch of stuff that I have to address all at once. And it's like, I'm literally just in this diner trying to eat this chicken pot pie. Like, I'm chilling.
Yeah.
Why does everything have to be this complicated?
Yeah.
So for me, it's just like, I want to educate people, but I'm also like, I'm tired, and can we have fun?
Yeah.
And then if something arises, then I'm gonna let you know that's not right. You're wilding out right now. But at the same time, it's like, everything doesn't have to be a TED Talk as well.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, you know, with me sometimes, like you said you're black first, and then you're a woman, and then you're a lesbian after that. And sometimes with me, I'm just like, I don't know if I could put my identities in like a standard or in number them, because I think I am so visibly queer, especially when I'm Mendoza. I feel like I'm so visibly queer, and sometimes I do think that since I am Black, that I get the rejection because I am Black.
Yeah.
I love when people say I don't understand or please explain to me, because I'm going to explain to you if you don't understand, because I love that you're even open to being educated.
Yeah.
What's most hurtful is when there's people that reject the education,
Yeah.
and when
Right.
they put out language that is harmful and disrespectful, and then reject the education or reject them being corrected. That is I know what that feels like firsthand. Obviously, you know, being raised by a African American male who is cisgendered and heterosexual, I know that all too well.
Yeah, so we know that Black trans women face disproportionate rates of violence. They're disproportionate victims of murder and sexual assault. And yet we don't really see those stories get reflected a whole lot in mainstream media, and oftentimes when they are, there's a lot of problematic things happening, like dead naming, or they get the story wrong, or they sort of cast the blame on the trans person. And I was sort of wondering, how do we fix that, and where does that come from? Where does the issue stem from?
I think personally the issue definitely stems from fragile and toxic masculinity. Like I was saying before, it's like, you know, Black trans women are, you know, victims of this violence from mostly men. And the thing is, in 2018, there was 23 Black trans women that we know about that was murdered. And I'm pretty sure that there's more. But, you know, the problem is not only the perpetrator, it's everyone involved. It's the police, it's the investigators, it's the neighbor that was next door to wherever that person was murdered, it's the person that lives down the street from the park that are being complicit in this behavior of not reporting this news and it not being important. And then when it is reported, they are sometimes misgendering them, they're calling them drag queens, they're calling them men in wigs, they're doing very disrespectful things and disrespectful language that is not okay.
I think like the only times I've ever found out that a Black trans woman or just a trans woman of color was murdered was through Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is like ridiculous. Like there's nothing on the news, nothing at all. And then I'll go on Twitter and just see like name after name, and it's heartbreaking. Like this is something that needs to be addressed and needs to be, like there needs to be action taken to protect trans women and, you know, to adequately, you know, tell their stories if they have passed, to not misgender them, to not use their dead name, to respect their identity.
Yeah.
Right, but that's the thing, is it's like a balance between bringing awareness to this dilemma that we're faced with without making the situation worse, because I think media coverage factors in so much to like the way we think about a situation. Like if you look at like school shootings, where it's like where they blast the person's picture, name, story, like the person who committed this crime, and it's like maybe that's not the way to go about it. Maybe the way to go about it is to focus on the life that was lost and be respectful of that person, because I feel like when you do just dead name someone, or when you do use slurs or this and that to like describe this incredibly hurtful event that happened, you're just egging on the reasons why these crimes happen. You give the person who committed that crime validity.
There are layers, right? Because it's not just that they're trans, it's that they're Black, it's that they're women. It's just, there's so many different intersecting identities happening there that I think it gets even more difficult to address. And I was wondering if maybe, if you had any thoughts.
I just think like the news is always going to put out what is beneficial for them, and I'm not surprised that they don't showcase any of this. And it's up to us. It's up to us to put that information out there. I'm thankful for Twitter for always enlightening us and always making sure hashtags are out there, and then giving us the awareness to be like, oh, we can donate here, we can give to this cause, we can actually know their name, know their life. We could go on their Instagram and see the places that they used to go to, and just make them human beings. So I think it's all about having the access, having the platform. People who do have hundreds and thousands of followers, it's like, you got your Insta stories.
Right.
I see you talking to the camera about whatever. Also put that awareness out there so your other followers will know, hey, it's not just about the look or the beat face or we going out, you know, let them know that, hey, this is actually happening in my community and it's stressing me out. It's upsetting me, it's upsetting the people around us, and people need to know about it.
One thing I've noticed in the course of our entire discussion is that, you know, we're sort of here to talk about mainstream entertainment, mainstream media, TV, but the conversation always seems to come back to social media and more like community speak. So I'm wondering, like, how often do you find yourselves turning away from institutions like the big news or the big TV show or whatever, and searching instead for representation and people who look like you, and searching to hear from people on social media instead, on Instagram, Twitter, etc.?
Well, I think I realized the power of social media when I realized that no one was going to speak for me, and then I did not want anyone to speak for me. I think when I realized that there were not going to be any non-binary producers, that there were not going to be any non-binary writers in the room, that I decided that I need to do something about it and speak up for myself and be my own representation. And it's the same thing with, like, when we were talking earlier about Ryan Murphy overseeing Pose, where it's like, that's a rare occurrence for someone in a position of privilege, in a position of ridiculous power, to hand the torch to the people who need to have it, to give other people, other marginalized people, a voice. That's what we need more of. Because there's never gonna be a non-binary producer in the room. Not for a very long time. Maybe it'll be me, who knows? But like,
We're speaking to the universe, girl.
that's not gonna happen right now. But what is gonna happen is those producers who are in the room, the white cis men, there's now a responsibility to pass the torch. There's a responsibility to bring up other voices. And I think that's what should be applauded, is not having it be like, oh my God, Ryan Murphy, diversity genius. It's like, Ryan Murphy is putting it in the hands of others, in the hands of the people who can do something about it. It's giving the power back to the people. And that's what I think is so powerful about social media.
You were saying that you use it to find the news that other people don't report, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, social media is, when utilized properly, is probably the greatest tool in the entire world. Like, you can connect with people across the world in seconds. So you can find out what's going on in other countries that's not being reported on the news. You can find, like, live updates of things that are happening. And so I think it's amazing that I can use social media to find voices that are underrepresented, and, like, you know, they don't necessarily have the platform and to be able to share that with a lot of people.
And I also think the people who are, like, speaking out, who are activists, I think we should give the platform to the people who are well known and, like, educated in that field. Everybody wants to talk and have an opinion, and some people just should not. We don't need, you are sitting on the toilet. I don't need to hear your thoughts about anything. So I think that not everybody has to be like, oh my God, let's stand up for our rights. Some people are just good at selfies, and that's you. You should stick to that. And then there's people, like everyone on this couch, me sometimes on the weekends, but, like, you know, that should be able to have their voices heard and be that pillar of the community that we need.
Yeah. I think for me, one thing that I haven't really seen is anything related to the undocumented struggle. I really haven't seen, and I think that's such a huge issue at the moment that it surprises me that no one has tried to speak on it, because queer people in ICE detention, for example, do face things that cisgender heterosexual ones don't. And I think that's a really interesting illustration of some of the disparities and intersecting struggles that haven't really been brought up.
That actually reminded me, there was a trans woman, I can't remember her name, but she died in ICE
Roxana
detention.
Hernandez,
And it's just, I only heard about that through Twitter. Like, that just made me so upset.
And it's tough, right? Because you don't want every queer narrative to be centered on pain. Like, it doesn't always have to be like they died or they're going through this, like, crucible and, like, they're in pain every day. It's like, how do we balance the joy while also sort of incorporating the struggle, while also incorporating, honestly, the banality, right? Because the banality is so refreshing sometimes. It's like you said, they're just living their lives. It's like, it can be boring at times, which feels radical for queer representation, because it's like, oh, you're like a mediocre person and you're like LGBT. That's great. I love seeing that.
Go off.
I would love to hear more stories about bisexual people. I think for the most part, you know, we can, not we, but people in the cisgendered heterosexual community will look at a woman who's bisexual and it kind of being okay, but look at a bisexual man and be labeled as gay. And I think sometimes that comes from, you know, people not necessarily looking at things for what they actually are, and instead of also looking at those sexualities in the favor of a man, of a cisgendered man. So they think when a woman is bisexual or a woman and a woman is in a relationship, then it is for the cisgendered man. Whereas though obviously they don't agree with the male and male relationship aspect of it. And also I would love for, you know, topics of conversion therapy to be really pushed to the forefront, because I mean there's studies that shows that it's not necessarily anything that's actually tangible or tactful or actually works, because it's not real.
I just want to jump in real quick and say, like, I know there have been a few movies about like conversion therapy recently, but they do center so much on queer pain, and like I want there to be a narrative where it's more empowering instead of just like, look at this gay person suffering, because
that it shows the light at the end of the tunnel.
I just want for like Pride Month or just like the parade, just maybe just more than like it's the rainbow and people in thongs, and I just want better representation of Pride Month. It's like, no, it's not just a party and people in platform heels and wigs. It's more than that. It's a celebration of us being able to do what we're doing right now in 2019. And it's like, I'm not like shut down the parade, but I'm like,
it's just like, don't forget why. It's like, yes, it's a party now, but don't forget how this got started.
More than a Wells Fargo float.
Right.
So my first Pride was in Oklahoma City, and the biggest feature was an undecorated truck with drag queens in the back who was yelling at us to get to safety because there was a tornado coming.
Oh my God.
I felt very represented by that moment as a rural person.
You're like, I'm the tornado.
Right. But I'm wondering, like, what can Pride be? What should it look like? What should it reflect? It's a hard, big question.
Yeah, that is a big question.
Having that ability to be extra, to be a lot. But I think it's also like the ability to just be who you are. It's the ability to sit on your couch and do nothing but still be proud of who you are. And it's like, it's that two-sided visibility of being like queer activists, loud and proud, but then it's also like that acceptance that you don't have to be loud, you don't have to be an activist to be queer. You can just be a queer person, and that can be enough. Like, it's so many facets of Pride. It's just like being enough for yourself.
What Pride means to me is like self-love and like really just accepting yourself, because I feel like a lot of the queer experience when you're younger and trying to figure things out is self-hatred and like despising yourself and wishing you could change things. And so a big part of that process of like becoming who you are and like developing pride is just loving yourself and accepting yourself.
Yeah, I agree. Pride to me is exactly that, is being grateful for, you know, all of the strides that I've made in my gender identity and my sexuality, you know, in my comfortability and, you know, in this bow and everything. Pride to me is to celebrate those 64 color crayon box people. You know, I feel like, you know, a lot of the world is the 8 color box that's just like red, black, white, orange, purple, green, blue, whatever other colors I'm missing. But, you know, the 64 color box are the people that, you know, see every single spectrum that we can live in, that we can be in. It's like somebody might look at this and think, oh, yeah, that's pink. But the person with the 64 color box would say, no, that's magenta. And they're like, no, that's pink, but they can't see beyond what they've been taught in that 8 color box.
Right.
And I think, you know, Pride Month is where I celebrate being a 64 color box with the sharpener on the back. Remember those? Like, that's what I think Pride Month is about, is really celebrating yourself and your strides. And not only yourself and your strides, like I think you said before, we're standing on the shoulders and arms of so many other queer people that fought for us. And I think Pride Month is just another opportunity for us to appreciate them, appreciate us, and appreciate the people that are coming after us.
Before I came out, I had an aunt who was trying to like gently encourage me to just come out of the closet already. And one thing she told me was like, oh, you know, there are like other gay people out there and they look out for each other. And I always remember that one sentence of like, they look out for each other and what it means and how I've held it over the years that I've come into myself and like come out of the closet. And what I think Pride means to me is sort of a collective statement of we exist, we're out here. Even if you're not out yet, even if you don't feel safe to come out, there are people here who are in your corner.
Yes.
And so even if like you're not at the parade, you can see
Yes.
that we're out here somewhere.
That's perfect.
And I think that really sends a really powerful message to people like I used to be. Just like,
Yeah.
but are there really people who will look out for me? And it turns out there are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think in 2019 we have proven that we're not silent.
Yeah.
You know, we're here,
We're here,
and
we're
we're queer, and we ain't going nowhere. I don't know which camera I need to talk into. But yeah.
Thank y'all so much for being here with me and with MTV News today. I really appreciate it. This has been such an enlightening, soul-filling conversation.
I was gonna say, are we doing this next week?
Together. Group therapy
Yeah.
session.